Let's talk to Ryan Sabey, Deputy Political Editor of The Sun. Ryan, very good morning to you.
Good morning, Mike.
So, apparently, Keir Starmer says that Britain isn't working. As I said earlier, slightly tongue-in-cheek, he's not working very well either.
No, he's come up with this he's put the start of some big reforms, is how he would like to see it. Trying to crack down on the benefit system and trying to get people back into work. Now, the first bit of the puzzle to try and get back into work. Now, he's faced a little bit of criticism this morning because at the same time as trying to get people back into work, he should also be cracking down on that benefit system as well. And that is not going to come until the spring. Now, a lot of people say this should be like a hand-in-glove situation. They should come together. Now, he will face criticism for this, but this is the very first part of trying to get people back into work, whether it's youth employment, to try and get them on apprenticeship schemes, and just trying to bring down those numbers. They're absolutely staggering. You've got 1.5 million people unemployed in this country. You've got 9 million people who are economically inactive, and you've got a couple of million, nearly 3 million, who are long-term sick. And it's about trying to get those people back into work, to try and get them working again and try and boost the economy.
Yeah, absolutely right. I mean, whether or not they can ever do it, though, is a matter of principle, isn't it? Because we're already being told that they're sort of watering down the bit which is going to send people back to work who are suffering from possibly mental health issues or anxiety. Because what I'm told, and I know this for a fact from talking to actual doctors, is that you can get signed off from work without even seeing a doctor. You just basically email the doctor, the GP, and they'll sign you off from work for up to a week, possibly longer. They'll continue to do that process, and once you get out of the habit of actually getting up and going out to work, you just stop doing it altogether.
Yeah, that is part of the problem, and but maybe trying to sort of crack down on those practices will try and help things. Now, one thing as part of these measures to try and get people back into work is the NHS is going to try and play, or doctors and healthcare workers are going to try and play a bit of a part in trying to get people back into work by putting people and health workers into job centres, or tying the two up a little bit more to actually try and get those people working again. Because sometimes all it needs is that little bit of a nudge, a little bit of confidence for some people to get them back into work. Some people may not be able to go into the office. They may not be able to go onto a building site, but they may be able to work from home. They may be able to do a few days a week just working, and I think that will just help their self-worth and that whole respect.
Well, right. And Liz Kendall, even, you know, as a Labour politician, has sort of forayed into that area, hasn't she? She hasn't done that kind of, you know, lefty thing where you go, oh, you know, we must let people have their time off and we mustn't bother them. She's actually said, and she said it at the weekend, you know, there are some people who just need, for their own mental health, to have a job, because not having a job is actually worse for you.
Yeah, totally. I think one thing that really needs to happen is that those health workers, the whole system needs to be married up. So you'll have those NHS workers, you'll have the job centres, and if they can then tie that in with the sort of, we would, you know, deem the sort of crackdown on benefits to make sure that people, if they are offered a job, they are offered some sort of apprenticeship, that their benefits or that they will be cut. That if you marry all those three things up together, and there are the jobs available for people to do, and you have employers who are willing to help and take people on, then you will actually help, you know, fill those unemployment hot spots and those jobs, and actually try and get Britain sort of as they say, working again.
Yeah. Absolutely right. Let's talk a little bit about Keir Starmer and the petition. 2.5 million people now and rising. I think it's standing currently at 2,555,234 signatures right now for a call for a general election. Much gnashing of teeth around the sort of lefty brigade saying, oh, well, this is a bit stupid. You know, we had loads more people than that who wanted to rejoin the European Union, and nobody's going to make any, you know, inroads into the government this way. But let's have a look at what he said on ITV's This Morning yesterday.
Look, I remind myself that very many people didn't vote Labour at the last election. I'm not surprised that many of them want a rerun. That isn't how our system works. There will be plenty of people who didn't want us in the first place. So, look, what I focus is on is the decisions that I have to make every day. And it's a bit like opposition.
Surely you want us, the public, to trust you, to like you, to think he's the man for the job, he's doing what he needs to do. Your approval rating is lower than Nigel Farage's right now.
The thing is, if you make your mind up, as I have done, that we're going to do the difficult things first, then I think it's inevitable that people do feel they're difficult decisions. I mean, I understand that.
This is a new policy from the Prime Minister, from Number 10, that he's going to go on these sort of soft soap TV shows. You know, who next? Lorraine Kelly. You know, have I got news for you? You know, anything funny that he can do. He's trying to make himself a bit more likeable. You know, he actually cracked a smile there. Is there some new sort of, you know, indicative scenario going on here?
I think I think some people might say it's actually quite nice to see him in the country. He's obviously spent a lot of time abroad over the last few months. But as he said, he's got to make those difficult decisions, and he thinks they come early on in the Parliament. I was speaking to just one Tory MP yesterday who said that it feels like the Labour government are failing too quickly. They actually feel like they want a little bit more time for them to fail, you know, a couple of years, so then the Tories can actually get their all their ducks in a row and actually try and work out in a couple of years exactly where they go. But everything is happening so quickly that it feels like the Tories actually wanted a little bit of time in opposition just to regroup. It's all come along very, very quickly.
He has. I mean, he looks like a man in a wind tunnel most of the time, doesn't he? Because it's all coming at him, and it's literally, you know, there's garbage coming at him, cones coming at him, you know, dead birds, everything, rats, everything's coming down the pike.
Yeah, I think one thing also very interesting that Rachel Reeves, the Chancellor, yesterday said at the CBI, that business summit, that she said that she wouldn't be coming back for any more taxes, and any more borrowing. I think that is very, very interesting. The fact that most chancellors don't like to box themselves in, don't like to tie their hands, and the fact that she's actually said that, I think is very interesting. They don't normally like to talk about budgets or tax rises or what have you in advance. And the fact that they feel like they need to say that to just try and sort of instill a little bit of confidence in the business world is pretty interesting.
Yeah, but you know what the trouble is, though? The trouble is, though, Ryan, there's such liars now that nobody believes a word of it. So you can say we're never going to bring any more taxes in, and a year down the road when they bring them in, they'll say, oh, well, things have just changed, because that's what they do now. They go, well, we didn't say we were going to put taxes up before the election. Now we are, because we discovered a £22 billion black hole. You know, they're just completely pathetic.
This is the trouble when you have the situation with the definition of the working people and whether the Labour administration was going to tax the working person. They'll say, look, you will not notice anything in your pay slips. But what happens, and we go back to the point earlier about on the welfare and on benefits crackdown, a lot of these businesses are going to find it really, really difficult to take new people on because they've got issues around the increase in national insurance. They've got the minimum wage increase that they have to deal with as well. So there are real big problems for business, and trying to just bring this all together to get people back into work.
Absolutely right. Good to talk to you, Ryan. Thanks very much indeed. Ryan Sabey, Deputy Political Editor for The Sun.